Welcome to the Deep Dives. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just breaking down sources in our usual way. Instead, we're going to share a story uncovered from the materials. A really compelling, chilling narrative. It's a true tale of suspense, deception, and ultimately profound tragedy. It all starts with the sudden, quite mysterious death of a former beauty queen, Michelle Marie Sommer, just days after she had cosmetic surgery. But as we unpack this, you'll see it was far from a simple medical complication. There's a much darker truth hidden beneath this, well, picture-perfect facade of a family in Utah. A truth that tragically led to the loss of not one, but 3 lives. So let's begin by painting a picture of Michelle Marie Sommer, born back in 1957. Michelle was, by all accounts, truly radiant. Intelligent, beautiful, she was crowned Miss Court of 1978 when she was just 19. A model, a bright student, seemed she excelled in everything she touched, really. And had this charm, made everyone smile. And more than that, she was a really devoted mother. Her children adored her husband too. From the outside, her life looked idyllic, just perfect domestic bliss. But that picture, as we're about to find out, was very carefully crafted. It was hiding a pretty dark reality. And then there's Martin MacNeill, Michelle's husband. To the world, he came across as charismatic, charming, even funny sometimes. He was a respected doctor, held prominent roles in their community, their church. He was even the medical director of the Utah State Developmental Center. But this polished exterior he presented, well, it would eventually crumble and reveal a whole lifetime of deceit. Our sources show a pretty problematic past, dropping out of high school at 17, a military discharge at 22 due to mental health issues, and a history of forgery that actually led to a 6-month jail sentence. This wasn't just like a one-off mistake. It seems to be a consistent pattern, using his intelligence for manipulation.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how someone with that kind of early history, marked by deception, could climb so high. It really sets a chilling precedent for what happened later.
It absolutely does, and it speaks volumes about his cunning intelligence. Despite never actually finishing high school, Martin somehow forged documents. Got himself into medical school back in the 70s, he became a practicing doctor, and even went on to pursue and get a law degree. Really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Not just about the checks and balances back then, but how deeply committed he was to keeping up this manufactured image. So together, Martin and Michelle, they created this large blended family. They had 4 biological children, Rachel, Alexis, Vanessa, and Damien. Later, they adopted their grandchild, Ada. And then 3 more children from Ukraine, Geisel, Sabrina, and Ellen. So this is a big family, over 10 people living in American Fork, Utah. And to the outside world, everyone saw them as this loving, respected family, kind of a pillar of the community. Now, as Michelle approached her 50th birthday, she made the decision to get a facelift. She was still, a beautiful woman, but apparently felt self-conscious about wrinkles setting in. Martin reportedly supported her. He was even focusing on his own fitness, his youthful appearance, workouts, spray cans. So they wanted to be young parents for their children as long as possible. They chose Dr. Scott Thompson, considered a top plastic surgeon in Utah. And Michelle had the procedure on April 3rd, 2007. Michelle's daughter, Alexis, she was a pre-med student at the time. She came home from college. It was her spring break, specifically to care for her mother during recovery. She stayed with her mom in the hospital for that first day, then continued caring for her for 6 more days at home.
But that timing raises a question, doesn't it? Why the rush to do it in April? Alexis only had 7 days off. Waiting until August would have given her a whole month to help her mother recover. Especially given Michelle's known high blood pressure, that adds another layer of risk. It just seems sudden.
You're absolutely right. That insistence, it is really puzzling when you look back. And it turns out Michelle's hidden motivation for the surgery, it's even more heartbreaking. She felt pressured. Apparently, Martin made comments about her aging face. He reportedly told her she was, quote, wrinkly and not pleasing to the eye. Just awful. Michelle hoped the procedure would make her look younger, maybe help her retain her husband's happiness, essentially save their marriage. She suspected his interest was waning, so this is a surgery she didn't even really want, done entirely for him. Then came April 11th, 2007, just 7 days after the surgery. Martin got to work that morning, Michelle was home. At 11:35 a.m., Martin comes home with their young daughter, Ada, after picking her up from school. He sends Ada to find her mom, and moments later, Ada discovers Michelle, face down in the bathtub. Martin then makes this frantic 911 call. The dispatcher, Heidi Johnson, she later recalled, Martin sounded panicked, yes, but also yelling, demanding. His tone struck her as unusually agitated, especially for a doctor in that situation. He told her he was trying to save his wife. When the paramedics arrived, they found Martin attempting CPR. 2 neighbors were actually helping him get Michelle out of the tub. And here's a peculiar detail noted by the paramedics. Water just kept emerging from Michelle's mouth during the CPR attempts. Despite everyone's efforts, it was too late. Michelle had passed away.
And that behavior at the scene, for someone with his medical background, it's deeply puzzling, relying on neighbors to lift her, when he likely could have, and the lack of proper resuscitation, like clearing the airway, doing mouth-to-mouth, it's highly suspicious for a trained professional.
Exactly. And what's almost as shocking is how quickly her death was initially ruled. The autopsy concluded heart failure, possibly linked to complications from the pain medication, and the case was closed. Ruled a natural death in under 2 months. But that ruling, that was really just the beginning of this whole horrifying story unfolding. Because Michelle's daughter, Alexis, she immediately refused to believe the official ruling, just completely disbelieved it. She had this unwavering conviction right from the start that her mother was murdered and that her father, Martin, was involved. Her suspicions grew based on a series of really unsettling things that happened before Michelle even died. For example, Martin had pushed Dr. Scott Thompson, the surgeon, to prescribe a lot of different pain medications for Michelle. He actually claimed it was a 50th birthday gift, which sounds odd in itself. Dr. Scott, being a top surgeon, was cautious. He explicitly warned Michelle, only take one type of painkiller at a time, never mix them. But Martin kept asking for more prescriptions. Then, Martin tried to get Michelle discharged immediately after the surgery, right away. But Alexis, who was there, she overruled him. She insisted, at least 1 day of observation in the hospital, which was medically sensible. And it didn't stop there. After just 1 day of being home, Martin tried to send Alexis back to college, said he could handle the care. Alexis refused. She insisted on staying for the remaining 6 days of her break. And during that time, Alexis saw her mother was often in this groggy state, really disoriented. When Alexis questioned her father about it, Martin actually admitted he might have overdosed her with medication. Accidentally, he claimed. Alexis got so concerned that she secretly taught her mother, whose face was still bandaged, how to identify the different pills just by touch, just so Michelle would know if she was being given too much of the wrong things. Incredible foresight from Alexis.
That level of awareness from Alexis is quite something, even amidst the crisis.
Yeah, it really is. And then, perhaps the most chilling part, Michelle's own words to Alexis. While Alexis was washing her hair, Michelle started crying and said, "If anything happens to me, make sure it's not your father's doing." Alexis, at the time, she kind of dismissed it. Thought it was just her mom being anxious after surgery. She couldn't grasp the implication. Even on the morning Michelle died, Martin called Alexis. Claimed Michelle wasn't well, said she was trying to go pick up Ada from school. He asked Alexis to call her mom and convince her to stay home, which Alexis did. All these events, looking back, they were huge red flags for Alexis, even if she couldn't connect them all then. And then, a crucial piece of missing evidence just cemented Alexis's fears. Michelle's medication bottles vanished after her death. Her brother, Damien, later confirmed it. Martin had instructed his girlfriend to get rid of all of them, his excuse. He couldn't bear to see them.
That right there, the deliberate disposal of medication, especially when drug toxicity is even a remote possibility. It immediately casts a huge shadow of suspicion. It completely obstructs any potential investigation into what she actually took. It's damning.
It's exactly. It prevents crucial evidence from ever being examined. And this pattern just fueled Alexis' determination. But the story takes an even darker, stranger turn with the appearance of Gypsy Willis, a nursing student. She showed up at Michelle's funeral, a complete stranger to the rest of the family. Yet she was there, offering help, and then brazenly gave Martin her phone number at his wife's funeral. Alexis later made a shocking discovery. Martin hadn't just met Gypsy, he'd been secretly texting her for 2 years before Michelle died. And adding just a sickening layer to this betrayal, Gypsy sent a nude photo of herself to Martin on the actual day of Michelle's funeral. After this, Martin's behavior towards his older daughters, Rachel and Alexis, became increasingly aggressive, controlling, especially once Gypsy moved into their home. He fired them from helping with the younger kids. He even forbade them from the house eventually, declared they were no longer family. It seemed like he was actively trying to push them away, isolate them, maybe to hide his new relationship, hide his secrets. And then came the most disturbing revelation of all. Alexis disclosed that Martin had sexually assaulted her after Michelle's death. She woke up one night to find him molesting her, licking her hand. It's just almost incomprehensible. And Martin's manipulation after that, twisted. He refused to grant Alexis custody of her younger siblings. He threatened to send the adopted Ukrainian children away to other families if Alexis exposed him, if she went to the police about the assault. Alexis did report the molestation, but with no evidence beyond her word. Unfortunately, only a police report was filed. No charges at that time. His desperation just escalated. He did something truly illegal and cruel next. He sent 16-year-old Geisel, one of their adopted daughters from Ukraine, back to Ukraine, alone. Took her passport, her birth certificate, her social security number, all her identification. And then he used Geisel's stolen identity to help Gypsy escape about $50,000 in credit card debt. Gypsy essentially became Geisel on paper.
You see this progression, don't you? From subtle control, infidelity, manipulation, to outright abuse, criminal identity theft. It's staggering. It really illustrates a complete disregard for human dignity, for legal boundaries, all to protect himself in this new relationship.
Absolutely. It shows how far someone with these deep-seated patterns of deception will go when their fabricated world is threatened. Geisel had a terrible time in Ukraine, but eventually, with help from Rachel and Alexis, she managed to get back to the U.S. Her return, of course, blew the lid off the identity theft scheme. This led to Martin being convicted of identity fraud. He got 3 years in federal prison for that. Gypsy received a lighter sentence, just 3 months in jail, followed by 3 years of probation. But Martin's legal troubles were far from over. While Martin was serving time for the identity fraud, Alexis's relentless campaign for justice for her mother finally gained ground. In September 2007, Alexis and Michelle's sister, Linda, they successfully petitioned the Utah governor at the time, John Huntsman Jr. They convinced him to reopen Michelle's murder case. A second autopsy was performed, this time by Dr. Todd Gray. Now, he found no single drug was present in a definitively lethal dose on its own, but the analysis revealed this dangerous cocktail of multiple sedatives and an opioid in Michelle's system. There was promethazine, which causes drowsiness, zolpidem, a sedative like Ambien, diazepam, which is Valium, an anti-anxiety med, and oxycodone, a powerful opioid painkiller. Dr. Gray concluded that the combination of these drugs, even if each one was below a toxic level individually, could absolutely have caused acute heart failure. The interaction was lethal. This crucial finding led to the official cause of death being changed on October 6, 2010. It was now listed as heart failure due to drug toxicity. Homicide. Martin's murder trial finally began on October 17, 2013, shortly after he was released from prison for the identity fraud conviction. He pleaded not guilty, of course, blamed it on an accidental overdose or maybe even the prescribing doctor, Dr. Thompson. But then came a critical piece of testimony. Martin's former mistress, Anna Wolfhall, took the stand. She testified that Martin had actually confided in her years before, talked about how one could stage a murder, specifically by drugging someone to make it look like an accidental drowning.
And that testimony, connecting that to the bigger picture, it must have been devastating for the defense. You have the drug cocktail, the suspicious behavior at the scene, his medical knowledge, and now direct testimony about him basically outlining the very scenario that occurred. It paints an overwhelming picture of intent for the jury.
It absolutely did. It wasn't just a collection of suspicious facts anymore. It showed a clear pattern, a calculated plan. On November 9, 2013, after deliberating for 11 hours, the jury returned their verdict. Martin MacNeill was found guilty of first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. He was sentenced to life in prison, plus 15 years for the obstruction. He was also later found guilty in a separate trial of sexually abusing Alexis, which added another 15 years to its sentence. But the cost of Martin's actions, the heartbreak, it didn't end with the verdict. Tragically, their son, Damien, who was a law student in New York at the time, he committed suicide by overdose after learning the truth that his father had murdered his mother. And then on April 9, 2017, Martin MacNeill himself committed suicide in prison. Reports suggested he couldn't cope with the guilt, specifically over causing Damien's death. So in the end, 3 lives lost, all stemming from this one man's web of lies and calculated evil. So where are they now? The people left behind in this tragedy. Gypsy Willis, the woman Martin brought into their lives. She was never charged in connection with Michelle's murder. She maintained her love for Martin, continued to believe he was innocent, expressed regret, she said, for entering the family's life. As far as we know, she now lives quietly in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then there's Alexis Summer, the daughter whose persistence really brought the truth to light. She changed her last name back to her mother's maiden name, Summer, a powerful statement. And she achieved her dream. She became a family medicine doctor, graduating from medical school at Utah Valley University. Amazingly, her intellect wasn't just confined to medicine. She also earned a bachelor's and master's degree in history. Today, Dr. Alexis Summer is a dedicated physician. She specializes in women's health, depression, anxiety, ADHD. She's committed by all accounts to building lasting relationships with her patients, from newborns right through to the elderly, and in what feels like a profound personal triumph over everything she endured. Alexis now has her own family, with 3 children, and she continues to raise and support her younger siblings, stepping into the role her mother so tragically lost. Her strength is just incredible. This story is undeniably chilling. It really peels back the layers on the dark complexities of human nature. Deceit, control, the utter destruction of a family. But it also shines a light, doesn't it, on the immense strength and resilience shown by Alexis. Her fight for justice, her commitment to healing herself and her family.
It really does, and it leaves us with a difficult question, I think. In the face of such profound betrayal, such calculated evil, what does justice truly mean? And perhaps more personally, how do we as individuals navigate the often blurry line between the face someone presents to the world and the hidden, sometimes sinister reality beneath?
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thank you for joining us today for this impactful and at times very difficult story. We hope it gives you something to ponder about trust, about perception, and about the enduring strength of family bonds, even in the darkest times. For more stories like this, more deep dives that explore the world around us, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into some fascinating sources. Until then, take care.